Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contiengecy Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
How you doing, everyone?
Yes, welcome back to our all TIE Fighter podcast, where we discuss the intricacies and engineering of TIE fighters.
Do I look like an engineer? I don't know anything about TIE fighters other than the fact that they make cool noises. I have nothing to add here.
Okay, fine. Well, I guess we'll start over again. I guess we're still a reread podcast then.
Accept it.
Thought we'd get
No.
technical with our fans. Okay, fine. No, we are a reread podcast. Diving into the new Jedi Order, we are in Vector Prime, and we will be going through Chapter 5 today. The War Coordinator, right? The War Coordinator.
That is right.
Okay. And kind of a short chapter, only a couple pages, but fairly pivotal chapter as we get into a little bit more about the Yuuzhan Vong and their plans for our part of the galaxy here.
And more weird creatures.
Yeah. So we definitely go over more of the living technology of the Yuuzhan Vong, some of it which makes them so unique throughout this series. So, but yeah, before we get into that, let's go ahead and start with Jedi Council. So, how's it going this week?
Pretty good. Finally got a little vacation from work. We went camping.
Yeah.
We just got back, actually. It's been a good week.
Yeah.
Good weekend.
Yep. Went camping, went down to Southern Ohio. We are from Ohio, so we went down to Southern Ohio and did a little camping, a little hiking. Backpacked in. It was, it was pretty fun. Just going through. We were originally going to record this podcast Friday night, but we got a little sidetracked with some other stuff. Went to a guitar center, looked at guitars, and ate some German food. Down in German Village. Moment. Yeah, then watched some football. So we were a little bit behind. Figured we'd get back from the trip and do a quick podcast for Monday. So I'll be editing this as probably, maybe as soon as we get done.
We're done.
so I can get it loaded up and on there and ready for Monday morning. But yeah, it was a pretty good weekend though.
What about you? How was your week before the camping trip?
It's just work. I can't really say I was excited about anything during the week. It was just a week of work, so it's what it is.
Yeah. I think the only thing we were excited about was getting our Amazon orders for the camping trip probably near the end of the week.
Well, yeah, that's true. Did get a couple of new little pieces of gear, to sort of supplement certain parts of the journey. So that's something that if any of you out there are into the backpacking, the camping, hiking, and so forth, not really the glamping or I guess like
electric camping.
Well, yeah, campsite tent camping, stuff like that. We generally will backpack in what we need, food and water. This site actually did have some drinking water, so from a natural spring. So that was we didn't really need to backpack in a bunch of water. We just kind of brought in a little bit for the journey in, and then kind of went with the drinking water we had. But yeah, if any of you are into that sort of stuff, you'll sort of get into the mindset of gear and what you need, what you don't need, trying to get things lighter, trying to find good deals because a lot of camping gear can be very expensive depending on what you're looking at. And I don't shop at like REI or the major outfitters. I tend to, just get what works.
Cabela's is always nice for ideas, but
yeah,
you get on Amazon while you're at Cabela's and realize how overpriced it is.
Right, yeah. It's good to look in those places for ideas, and sometimes, you can find stuff in clearance and whatnot, but, we're, again, those Disney checks seem to be delayed, so we don't have any extra supplemental income, right?
That's right. The only thing I was really able to afford this week, other than our camping stuff, was a few books from this series. Picked up
that's
the
right.
Next couple.
Yeah, we went down to the half-price bookstore and took a look around in the clearance section and the paperback section. I think you got the next two books in the series, so we'll obviously, I have them all. We're kind of looking at them. They're right there on my bookshelf. and those I've kept since they started coming out. So a lot of those were printed along the time when they were being made, the first run. But yeah, yeah, I think that was about really all it for the week. I think, unless you really want to talk about work and the idiosyncrasies of our jobs.
I think we can save that for a dinner with patrons section, maybe.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. And that I just want to say, we do have our first episode of Dinner with the Patrons. Part of our series that, well, at least for now, one of our starter series, and we have some other plans for Patreon as we go along, is, I don't know, it's probably like 30, 45-minute video, I think it wound up being.
Yeah.
And basically it's just a dinner with the patrons. We'll get some food, we'll sit down, and, just talk to you through the video and tell some stories and talk a little Star Wars, talk a little bit of other things. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, you can head on over to Patreon. That's Patreon/the Contingency Plan Podcast. That's not something I can say very quick. But if you'd like to support us, that's a good place to do it, and we'll be building that up as time goes by. You can also check out Facebook, and send us a message if you have maybe a theory or a question or something. I think you've been putting up some more stuff on there periodically.
Memes.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, Darth Austin is mainly running the Facebook page because I think I've said this before. I'm not super. I'm technologically inclined. I just don't care about it enough to really work with it.
He's technologically inclined. He's just not socially technologically inclined.
Well, I'm not inclined to post my entire life online. Let me put it that way. So yeah, Facebook's out there. We also have our email address if you just prefer to send us an email, and that is tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into the HoloNet. And I think you had a little bit of news, a little tidbit. What was that?
Yeah, a little, bit of speculation here. We've got rumors for the title for Episode 9.
Mm-hmm.
The theory is that we will be watching Star Wars Episode 9, The New Order.
The New Order. And before we start speculating about that, I did look up what the working title for Episode 9 is, and it's Black Diamond.
I think that sounds more like a James Bond title than a Star Wars one.
Black Diamond. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was also, I might not be remembering this correctly, but when I was reading that, the code name for or working title for Solo was like Red Cup. I think is what it was.
You realize why?
No.
Solo.
Why? Yeah, I know. It was actually kind of clever in a way, but it's obviously the working titles never wind up being the well, I don't want to say that too loud. There might be a few out there that might have had the working title become the real title.
I would have been okay with Red Cup, a Solo story.
That would be horrible. You'd get all the frat boys from college coming in there. Well, Red Cup. Let's watch that. Oh, this is a nerd movie.
What's this about shooting first?
Yeah, so, okay, so Star Wars Episode 9, potentially New Order. So just simply New Order.
Yeah, the speculation is it might tie into Kylo Ren, of course, taking over. And there's also speculation it could have to do with Rey starting a new Jedi Order.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Obviously, in as a tie into our book here, we had was it the last chapter? Luke going to the council, or that little government body, and then attempting to reform the Jedi Council as a governing body for the Jedi as it was in the old days. And I think there's always this want among these Jedi to have a council to kind of rein in. Again, that they're. Eventually, we'll have a video on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. I didn't plug that, but the Contingency Plan on YouTube, Contingency Plan podcast on YouTube. And we'll kind of talk Jedi and Jedi Order and how kind of, honestly, how kind of foolish a lot of it was to just try and overly control, the Jedi and make it just so rigid. But they always do. They always seem to try and go back to make up some council. And even in canon here, Luke did make his own little order, which of course was basically burned to the ground by Kylo, and with the influence of Snoke, so mostly Snoke
You mean
using
Jason?
Kylo. Nah, no, he's just Snoke. But anyway, so there's obviously the potential tie-ins to that, but I'll be interested to see. And when you had said at the beginning it could be a tie-in to like Kylo, kind of taking over. So when you talk about trilogies, like true trilogies, generally the third movie is your tie-up. It's your wrap-up, right?
Yep.
So I don't know in this day and age if it would be a huge mistake to end it on like, well, the First Order won. That's it. That's it, folks. That'd probably PO quite a lot of Star Wars fans. So.
Yeah, it would, but they were kind of written
turns.
into a corner here. There's like 12 Resistance fighters left
Well,
on the Millennium Falcon, so it'll be interesting to see what JJ does with that.
well, yeah,
Unless they have a time skip, I really don't see what he can do.
Yeah, I think we had talked about it before, where I have never liked when movies split directors and try and like, because Rian Johnson had a very specific vision for The Last Jedi, and I think he executed to the best of his ability his vision. Now that vision is not necessarily what people wanted to see, but there again, a movie is not necessarily made for just you or you. It's made for a wide audience. But yeah, I mean, it was still divisive, and there are people that didn't like it. There are people that did. But I really don't like when you switch directors, especially in a trilogy, especially one like this where you have to keep continuity. And I did feel like I was watching a completely different series in a way when I watched Last Jedi. Like if I watch back to back, Force Awakens and then The Last Jedi, it's like, yeah, the characters are still there, but the storytelling is so much different to where it's almost a little bit disconcerting. But do I think that they're just going to give the world to Kylo? No, I think he's dead. I think they're going to kill him in this next movie.
I'd be surprised if they didn't. I mean, he is now the big bad guy. They kind of have to.
Right,
After killing off Snoke, you got to have the final death in the third movie.
I'm telling you this, I still don't think Snoke's dead. I honestly, I don't think he is complete until, and I've said this before, until they roll credits on Episode 9, he's not dead.
Well,
because
the same thing happened to Maul and he came back. So how much technology they have, maybe that was just some advanced hologram. Maybe it was actually part of a much wider plan for Rey to overcome. And we have seen clones in this, obviously, in this world.
Yep.
So.
Emperor Palpatine. I kept forgetting his name, but there was a lot on that. Mm-hmm. So anything is possible, but I guess even if you said New Order as opposed to like the new Jedi Order, like a new Jedi, like just a completely new council or order or whatever, even that I kind of think that I don't know. I don't like the title. The more I keep saying it, the more I really don't like it.
A lot of people, and it said it in this post, have been speculating it's a bit of a callback to A New Hope, and it's kind of synonymous, and I really don't quite understand that.
Well, I mean, I
personally,
guess I could kind of see in a way I could see what that could mean.
Just kind of a stretch and pandering, in my opinion. But I mean, this is speculation. It's not like it's a confirmed title.
Correct. Well, here's the thing. This franchise does need to make up ground. Unfortunately, despite the fact that Solo has made more money than what they had actually into the movie, and I'm sorry guys, I still don't think that they're going to take as big a loss as what a lot of people have been saying. We still have the DVD release, and there's still merchandising to account for, but it was highly affected because that should have been bare minimum. a $500 million movie, 500 million. It should have at least hit that, before they yanked it from theaters. So that should have just been theater revenue. So that was highly affected, and I think that there are a lot of fans out there that are just unhappy about the direction, and it's tough because for 6 movies you had the vision of George Lucas. 6 movies.
Imagine if someone had taken over halfway through and tried to do a movie.
True.
In that.
Now, granted, he didn't finalize every script, and he had help, and there were other credits in there, but at the same token, it was still George Lucas's vision for 6 movies. And then now we're flip-flopping, and it's a completely different vision from George Lucas. I mean, I don't know. I just, I think they have to make up a lot of ground, so maybe they will be pandering a bit, but maybe they have to. I just want to see a good Star Wars movie. That's all I want, is just a good Star Wars movie.
I just want to see another Star Wars movie truly centered around the Jedi, honestly. And that's kind of what we didn't get. So.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked Rogue One. I really liked Solo. That had the absence of the Jedi conflict. But yeah, I actually want to see more just Jedi. The whole thing again with Last Jedi. I would have been happy with like a Luke and Rey movie. Like you could have made those much larger parts of the movie and took away things like Cantabite and just replaced them with more of the lessons and training to Rey, or more Luke Skywalker just doing other things. Flashbacks. Like flashbacks to finding the first Jedi temple or finding the books or something. I would have been okay with flashbacks with just having Luke in them. But again, I'm not in Disney. I'm not in Story Group. I'm not in Rian Johnson. I'm not writing any of these movies. But if they use Episode 9 to try and bring Star Wars fans back in the good graces, I have no issue with that. They probably need to.
Yeah, they do, especially if they want to continue with another planned trilogy with Rian Johnson, which they have talked about quite a bit. So
yeah, that'll be interesting.
I have seen some rumors going around that might be canceled too, but nothing concrete enough to really talk about.
It just all depends on what it is. But we knew that the Boba Fett movie that was big to come out. And sorry guys, I don't
do without it.
I don't care about Mandalorians. I mean, they're kind of cool, but I don't care enough about them to see.
And we have
movies.
A series coming out about them. We don't need more.
I mean, I would watch it, but I don't think it would be on the tops. I think right now that the smart play is be Star Wars free until 9, and then I would say give another year, and then drop Obi-Wan.
At least a year.
Yeah, I mean what Star Wars, what Disney maybe did not learn from Marvel. Now, granted, Marvel's movies have all grossed very well, but Disney is trying to appeal to the casual fans. Star Wars is extremely specific to groups of people that really love Star Wars. Now, that's a big group, but it's not all the casual fans. Now, Marvel, they're superheroes.
And they've brought in a lot of new casual fans from those movies as well.
And that's the thing. It's a lot easier to like it, and I don't, I'm just stating an opinion here, but it's a lot easier to like a superhero that can be kind of cool, where you can cast Robert Downey Jr. into a role like that. It's a lot easier to like that than, a movie about laser swords and space and, something that has been labeled nerdy for its lifetime, And I know you see superheroes at Comic-Con, but, people still like superheroes. And I think that as much as I love Star Wars, you can't put Star Wars movies on a Marvel schedule.
No, you can't have quality with that amount of movies. You just can't. It's going to go downhill. And we've We haven't quite seen that because I thought that Solo was a big upgrade in quality from Last Jedi, but
Yeah.
people are burnt out. It doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah, and we'll eventually have a video up on YouTube about our Solo stories. I think it'll probably be pushed back quite a bit, and more than likely coincide with the video release of Solo.
Which is fine because then we'll get to see deleted scenes and
Correct,
be a little
yeah.
more in depth with our review, like we did with Last Jedi.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed Solo. I wish people would have given that movie a chance, but I do understand why they're not only a little burnt out, but a little bit dissatisfied with Disney's handling of things. So, but anyway, yeah, that was kind of news for the week. Like I said, hey, let us know if you think that's a good title. Maybe you would have a different title, or hey, it's speculation time. I think it's time to start speculating about Episode 9. Maybe throw us your theories. Tell us what you think the movie is going to be about. Maybe something that we haven't looked at. Maybe you've seen, or just how you want it to go, how you think it'll go, how you want it to go. Either way, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we might make a longer video about speculation as it draws closer to a release date.
Yeah. I mean, there'll be plenty of speculation, and as it nears, there will be much more out there speculating and some leaks and little things out there. So yeah, it should be
right
fun.
now we really don't have much to talk about with that movie except for what we know from the previous two. When we get more information, we'll be able to start coming up with more theories, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get into the reread here. So again, Chapter 5, The War Coordinator. We are hopping back here to... How did we decide to say her last name?
Qui.
Is that how we decided? So Danny Qui, in the space... there's a little station on the planet. Did they rename the planet here? You see how good my memory is.
No, there's just a...
It's okay.
Part of the Excal 4.
And as a little bit, yeah, Excal 4.
Is that the name of the planet? I thought that was the name of the company. Okay.
Yeah, well, I think that might be the... Anyway, you see how professional we are. So, obviously we had the big character in Danny, but we also had Yeoman Carr, who, we have now identified as a Yuuzhan Vong warrior who is basically an advanced scout. And in the last chapter, he had spotted something moving in space, which is a little bit more of the focus of this chapter, and also his disabling of communications and his tampering and gerrymandering and whatever you want to call it, throwing a monkey in the wrench or the wrench at the monkey.
Wrench at the monkey.
Wrench at the monkey. So he's throwing wrenches at monkeys.
Yep.
And kind of how this is all going to play out. So, to start here, the scientists are actually very excited. So they're thinking that this is some sort of a comet. And it is heading straight for a planet in the Haleska system. Which planet did they say? 4?
Yeah, the 4th planet.
So the 4th planet of the Haleska system, there are 7 planets in this system, and they basically just identified it as potentially a frozen ball of water.
Which...
or a ball of frozen water.
Was something that Yeoman Carr actually mentions because he's been supposedly studying this planet. Of course, it's revealed that he's been doing much more than that.
Right. He actually has been on it. Mm-hmm. And he set a beacon on it. And this was this is what has been yeah. Yeah, exactly. Another creature.
I don't want to Google that just to know what they look like, honestly.
Yeah, they might have a picture of something somewhere. I don't know.
Look that up real quick while you keep
There
talking.
you Let's see here. But yeah, again, he's the advanced scout, so he's already scouted this planet. He already knows what it is. Excuse me. The scientists are kind of briefly going through here. Oh, is it a frozen ball of rocks? And then, of course, Yaman here says, a ball of frozen water. I think he specifically said, oh, yeah, Yaman Kar knew much more about the planet, the fourth in the Haleska system. He had been there. He had studied it. And he had left the Villip beacons out by the Galactic Rim to steer the incoming this is a Praetoriat Vong ship. And so now the banter goes to, is it going to hit it? And they want to, basically this is kind of a rare phenomenon, having, a comet or an asteroid actually hit a planet. So they're excited to see what this could potentially do, especially seeing as you have just a big ball of ice.
Basically, they want to see how cool it looks when it gets blown up.
Whoa, cool. The planet's gone, guys. So, yeah, they've got a little bit of kid wonder in them right here. But, it's like, well, is it going to explode or is it just going to disintegrate?
Man, wouldn't they love watching the Death Star at work?
Yeah, seriously. But they've noticed that the ship is,
Say it.
Next page. The asteroid is moving relatively fast at this point. So then we flip to another point of view here, and let's see. We are seeing through the eyes of Prefect Dagara. Dagara.
Sounds about right.
Cool. You're the master of pronunciations here. I can't do it. And let's see. He says his crew on the asteroid, which wasn't an asteroid at all, but rather a huge 10-kilometer chunk of Yorick coral.
A living world ship.
So it's coral.
Cool.
Coral.
What I want to know is, okay, so this came from their planet. Where is it? Are they just, circling?
No.
Yuzong Vong homeworld?
No, they have planets. We'll talk about that more as the series goes on. I don't think they specifically say anything about where they're from, but let's see here. And then the prefect, basically he's wanting more speed, but the wording is kind of funny. Have the Davin Basils tighten their lock on the planet. And so another one of his warriors says, "You wish for more speed, prefect?" So in order to increase speed on a living piece of coral, they have to have the Davin Basils tighten their lock on the planet. So this is actually kind of interesting as we read through here. It sort of seems like, and I don't remember a ton about the engineering later on in the series, but it kind of seems from here, it's like, are they gravitationally pulled? So, do these ships need some sort of pull in order to propel them, or is there something more internal? Is the corals like kidneys? Are those the reactor coils or something like that? And like his stomach is the warp nacelles or
the warp drive.
I don't know.
Do you have to add anything like what you see in Solo?
Oh God, I don't know. So kind of interesting wording here. Again, we're getting into living organisms that they're using as technology. But again, back to here, because this is another important look into the Yuzong Vong, because as we said, they are a warrior race. So let's see here. Dagara says, you wanna read what he says there?
Belactor.
There you go. Snapping his fist against opposite shoulders. So seems like if he's doing both, he's like making an X on his chest. Kind of tapping both of his shoulders. Well, snapping. I guess he's really smacking himself.
Yeah.
They seem to be a little sadomasochist, so I guess he's really smacking himself up. And this
is a sign of apology and respect. Basically.
Yeah, a sign of both apology and permission to continue. So he's saying, you'd better apologize, but I'm going to allow you to continue what you're saying. So that was kind of interesting. And this the one who'd questioned his speed request here. His name is what's that? Schloob. We'll call him Schloob. I like Schloob.
Okay.
But old Schloob has proven resourceful and cunning in this trip across galaxies. So trip across galaxies. So they've traveled a long way away, and some of their motivations are going to come out down the line. But just right now, think about a warrior race that is having to travel in a living piece of coral,
which probably can't make the jump to light speed.
Well, we'll get into that later. But they can, but it's technology that I have to reread later on down the line. There's way too much living stuff here. But they're going across galaxies for what? To find an ice planet? You just go to Hoth.
Yeah, they just thought it'd be fun to ram into this ice planet, so they've traveled galaxies for that.
It's a solid plan.
Yep.
Strategic. So anyway, Schlooby here goes ahead and says, a change in speed might alert all those watching. For natural bodies would not
so obviously accelerate.
I can't read today. And then Dagara says, those watching, do you doubt that Yeoman Carr has performed? So the prefect is counting on Yeoman Carr that he did his job to disable communications on the planet. So basically he's saying, you know what? I don't care if they see us speed up. If Yeoman Carr did his job, nobody's going to know about it. So what do you think's going to happen to our friends on X? Say it again.
Excal 4.
Excal. My memory is like shot today.
Kind of makes you think they were already supposed to be assassinated at this point.
Well, we're going to get into them as we go along. Oh, let's see here. But again, Schloob says, no prefect. Yep, and he's like, okay, cool, man. But it is kind of implied here that Dagara is he's a little impatient. He's a little anxious to get this going, and many of them are. Many of these warriors that they seem to be getting anxious. They want to get to the work at hand, and obviously, if you're traveling galaxies, it's taking them time. So this is something that's been a carefully laid, calculated plan, and they want to get on with it. They're here. Let's get on with it. Okay. So let's see here. Is there anything else we want to mention in this brief little part with our Yusin Vong friends, or you want to jump back to Exgal? Anything else?
He did reconsider that order given to old Schloob, but nothing too big in the rest of this section.
There was this last thing. So they had talked about being anxious. For the prefect wanted to be on with it. He had been back to the main holding compartment to communicate with the great Yamask, the war coordinator, and the gigantic creature. Its bulbous head glowing red with eagerness. Its many tentacles, some thick and others filament thin, but 100 kilometers long, coiled and twitching, had clearly revealed to him its desire to begin. So what is the great Yamask, who apparently is the war coordinator with a bunch of tentacles?
And not necessarily Yusin Vong.
Well, again, we have so many different layers here. With all their living creatures and stuff, sometimes it's hard for me to keep track of every single piece of what they're doing. Oh, let's see.
Well, they do kind of harp on that a little bit. He's a tool genetically engineered over centuries to serve his people in just this conquering capacity.
Oh, look at that picture. That's a hot picture right there.
Wow.
Oh, look, and there's a pop-up ad. Good job. There we go.
That thing is beautiful.
Oh, let's see.
He looks fun.
Yeah, I guess the Amos themselves are just known as war coordinators. Using Vulcan creatures mainly used as coordinators during battle to send orders to other spacecrafts, such as many coral skippers, to optimize their actions. Oh, okay. So it's kind of like
Hive mind.
yeah, sort of. I guess it kind of like a central computer. I suppose. Well, there we go. Okay, so yeah, let's move back to Excal here. They kind of chop around here. So
A tail.
a tail. I knew it. So yeah,
that comet has a tail.
well, yeah. So originally they thought it was an asteroid, but now they see a tail in quotation marks, and now they're like, "Well, it's a comet then." And again, they're so excited. They're exchanging smiles.
Strangely.
It's been a day of unexpected discoveries. Always a delight to the scientific mind. Oh,
Changing those sincere smiles.
yeah. Now they do. I feel like we skipped it here, but we did. Our scientist friends here did attempt to communicate out already to to Excal, to the company, in order to tell them about this discovery, which in the last chapter they had held up on that to sort of see what it was, but now they've already tried, and we have Garth out there. He was attempting to fix the comm system. It's still not working. I want to say that they had a portion in here where it would take like a couple of, so 2 days. But this was only the first thing. So they had found the gnawed-on wires and
repaired the wires, but didn't realize.
Well, they are repairing it. Yeah, it's going to take 2 days for that, but they don't realize the second sabotage. And this is what Carr...
It's unplugged.
Yeah, exactly. Have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in? Oh, it's already unplugged? Oh, well, just plug it back in. Thanks for calling IT.
That'll be $300.
Yeah, exactly. So, Carr, he says this a few times. He's just watching. He's amused. He sees him running around. He knows what's going to happen. And he knows that his sabotage has worked. And at this point, it's like, yeah, they know this problem, but they don't know the other problem. And they'll never be able to get word out.
They're gonna die anyway.
Shh, are they? And then a little bit here, because we're going to skip back to Dagara and the Yuuzhan Vong ship. It also has this small little piece that I want to say as well. Yes, these foolish beings were in for many surprises over the next few days, and they'd never get the word out to their fellows, and then their planet would burn down around them. The sunset that night was thick with green and orange, a clear sign that Yamankar's little dweebits were working their deadly magic.
Still really intrigued by what's going on with the dweebits.
Oh, we'll figure it out, but he's kind of dropping hints here that the planet would burn down around them. So I'm almost wondering because, guys, you got to understand, I don't remember everything about these books. This first book, what did I say, 1999, this first book came out. So it's been a long time since I've read it. But anyway, I wonder if they're like taking down the atmosphere or something.
Could be, would make sense.
Or, I don't know, eating up some protective layer, in order to literally have the sun.
Sucking up lava from the center of the planet. They're going to start shooting it out.
We're not that sci-fi here, folks. Come on. So anyway, obviously Yaman has a plan here, and it will come to fruition. Seems like they have a couple days, but not much longer until we finally figure out the exciting, shocking conclusion. So then let's get back to Dagara.
And his multicolored compartment.
Yes, in his multicolored compartment. It was all in place now. He had ordered the slowdown to intercept the fourth planet, the place he and the Yamask would make their base of operations. Out behind the warship, dozens of single-piloted coral skippers fanned out. So the Coral Skipper we're kind of assuming now is kind of like your X-Wing or TIE fighter. Carrying with them the huge membranous sails. The inverted sails in a semicircle with the warship as its apex. The Donovan Bassels at the command of the helmsman, releasing their grip on the planet's gravity and focusing instead on the opposing field, slowing the huge living vessel. So again here, I'm not an engineer. I don't claim to remember all the engineering stuff even that they told about this later in the series, but
difficult to picture it happening.
So, well,
I've been trying to
if I interpret this here, so we have a huge membranous sail. It kind of sounds like our shuttlecraft, like they're entering orbit and then they're going down the runway and then they have those little parachutes that pop out and then slow them down. Is that what they're doing here? Are they like
makes sense? But
are they putting out a huge parachute in space?
How would Excal not notice that?
Well, I don't know. It's far off, or maybe they think it's the tail. Oh,
the tail is expanding into a parachute.
It's got more tails.
They get bigger.
I don't know. Okay, so they contacted with the planet, not with the giant explosion those watching from afar had been expecting, but with a dull splat. I can just a.
And then everyone on Excal, oh, it didn't blow up.
Apparently. So here's another important part. 5,000 Yuuzhan Vong aboard this ship. 5,000.
That's a terrifying thought.
That's a big number. If there is this big warrior race and this is their base, 5,000 advanced troops. I know obviously that there are a lot of other ones in conjunction and find whatever. But it's still a big landing force.
Yeah.
And all right, let's see here. So Dagara is suiting up apparently,
putting on his membranous creature, a variation of the Uglith Masqua.
Yeah, it says it's a cloaker.
Pretty cool little. I don't want to call it a device because it's a living thing, but it gets a little weird here with the creatures.
Well, it's transparent, apparently, or it's transparent. It looks like the facial mask, it says, is transparent, showing the glory of its host disfigurements. And it's like shooting tentacles into all their pores and stuff. It's kind of gross. I don't know.
Oh, it gets grosser. Just read on.
Yeah, what was the second creature called? Is a soft star-shaped creature from the water. He scooped up a soft star-shaped creature from the water tank beside him and held it up to his face, and it latched on like alien. Just
that's exactly what I pictured.
And then the prefect gagged a bit as the creature's tendrils
rammed down his throat.
Just went down his throat. He had to put a finger in his nose to make sure it didn't go up its nose, apparently. Or it had pincers. Uh-huh. So it's a starfish with pincers with a big tendril.
It wants to suffocate you.
Sure.
And this is his way of breathing underwater, basically, and the suit just keeps him warm.
Yeah, so a wetsuit, a wetsuit, and a dive tank. Gotcha. Living wetsuit, living dive tank.
It sounds amazing. We should check and see if we can rent those out. They sound great.
I think they would be great for us. Yeah. Okay. I also found this funny for some reason. So the Yamask is leading the way, and basically he's burrowing through the ice. But here's what I found funny for some reason. Then the creature exposed its huge central tooth, and as soon as I thought it's just like one tooth, like duh, just that sound came to my mind, just like. Because if you look at a picture like like the wiki for this picture, it's just like this giant red squid-looking thing, and then all of a sudden I just picture this tooth, and it's just like, I don't know. It just made me laugh when I read it. But he's basically sinking his tooth in the ice. So and then
with the force of an ion cannon.
Yeah, and then all I can think of is this giant head-banging squid just.
And now I'm just thinking of Patrick from SpongeBob, honestly.
Oh, God.
Beating his head into a rock.
Okay, but yeah, no. So this is apparently their ice drill, secreting a liquid from the single fang to further erode the crust. So it has an erodent that it can produce.
Why are creatures so useful in the Yuuzhan Vong territory compared to everywhere else? I just want to know that.
Hey, I don't know, man.
It's like the universe knew the Yuuzhan Vong do not like technology. We're going to put all these creatures as tools for them.
Yeah, why not? In furthering my squid theory, it does say it's boneless, so it's basically a giant squid. It's Kraken. I'm calling it Kraken from now on.
Krakens do have
Yamask?
a single tooth.
No, it's a Kraken. We are crossing territories and calling this a space Kraken.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Who is also a computer that can communicate with everyone.
And it has acid.
Yes, and acid. It's just building up better and better as we go along. All right, and let's see here. So they do get through the crust, and apparently it's just water underneath. So it is just a giant ball of frozen water. I wonder if that's scientifically possible.
Sure.
Okay, sounds good. The engineer
I just want to know how the water got there.
Well, it was just floating through space one day. It's like, whoa, man, I'm just going to freeze over.
It's like, oh, crap, I forgot. Space is cold. Froze.
I don't know. We're not questioning the great words of who, have we ever mentioned the author?
Yes, we have R.A. Salvatore.
Salvatore. Salvatore. Okay, great. Good times. But this basically ends our first, this part of the chapter for the Yuuzhan Vong. They're in the water. The mosque is basically, it looks like it is keeping the opening from refreezing, which is their lifeline, to the surface. And the coral skippers are going to work here, overlapping membrane, because that's a thing. So yeah, they are in the water. They're taking a nice little swim. Kraken did his job, toothing the ice, and now they're taking a pleasant little swim in the frozen ice ball.
You know what I want to see on the 19th book? All these creatures just rebel against the Yuuzhan Vong, and that's how they're defeated. Is that how it ends?
No, that's not how it ends.
Okay.
It's not how it ends at all.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Rebels!
Luke can't do it.
That's how Luke does it. He's like, you have to rebel, just like we did. Now rebel. Rebels! All right, so then we're back to Exgal 4, and they're a little shocked. The gravity of the planet got it anyway. And for some reason, we're still excited here.
What the heck? More than one confused scientist asked.
Yeah.
Scratching his or her head.
Yeah, I mean, they expected an explosion, a vaporization, just something big, and nothing. Just made contact with the planet, and that's it. So they're all basically, I mean, I could assume this is probably like, I don't know if they're not in an uproar, but they're all so confused. And they're like, is a communications tower fixed? That's the first thing Danny asks. Is a communicate? She's a smart one here. It's like everybody else is like, what? What happened? What? And then she's just like, have you fixed that communication tower? Because something's wrong.
I want to talk to someone right now.
She had
in this room.
She had a bad feeling about this.
Oh, God.
I'll say it if I want. Do whatever I want. My podcast. Okay. So
I thought your podcast was about TIE fighters, not Han Solo.
Well, you know what? Maybe Han could pilot a TIE fighter. I don't know.
No, he can't.
Get out of here. Okay, so let's see here. What else do we have of note? I mean, nothing really. They're just kind of, they're trying to work out what the heck happened, but Yamin Kar, he's just back here. Says, who thought the whole scene of bumbling, undisciplined scientists rather enlightening.
I want to know how old all these scientists are because he's kind of right. They're all like children.
Well, I think they did. I think they did identify Danny's age.
Danny's 22.
Yeah,
but the rest of them, it's like, are you all just college age?
I think we have some young. Yeah, I mean, I think we have some young people here, But clearly they're scientists. They're not thinking about this militarily. They're not thinking about it strategically. So they're basically seeing here that something that should have happened didn't happen. Now what? Why can't we communicate? We have to communicate. And they can't. They can't communicate. And Yamankar is just sort of sitting back and laughing because he knows.
He unplugged it.
Yeah. He knows. He knows what's going on.
You have fun splicing those wires, boy. It won't help you because I unplugged it.
Exactly. So the other thing here is interesting. So what do you think he found enlightening about this? Do you think
I would say it's just him learning how easy it is to confuse the human race and just looking at strategy, for the upcoming war, probably.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily a good assessment of all humans, but yeah, I think that judging by what we've heard so far about these warriors, they're pretty resolute. I don't think that, if you have weakness, which we will get into the weaknesses of certain Yuuzhan Vong later, but I think if you have, a lot of weakness, you're not going to go far in this culture. So when he sees all these people he's been living with for a while just freak out at the one unknown that they're seeing here, it's basically saying, well,
this is gonna be easy.
Yeah. And that is kind of something that we'll get into as we go along. I don't want to get too far along, and also I don't remember everything anyway, so I probably shouldn't try and talk too far out of my what.
Get it mixed with another book series.
Trust me, I could do that in a heartbeat. So yeah, folks, that was chapter 5. Again, not long, but pivotal. This is the first step in the invasion. And this is the first base. This is the foothold. This is Vector Prime, and this is where it all starts. And we have a lot of squabbling going on so far. We have a lot of really poor politicians. We have kind of what it was before when the Empire took it over. I don't want to say that it's the same, but, we have squabbling delegates. We have a lot of people who can't make up their minds. We have common sense that does not take root. And now you have a big enemy. You got the big boss. You got the big boss. And without getting too far into it, the Yuuzhan Vong, I feel, are a much worse enemy than the Empire was. So the Empire were people. They were people that you knew. Yes, they were unscrupulous. They were evil to some extent, but
you knew how to fight them.
You knew how to fight them. Now this is a completely. They're rolling around in the galaxy in a giant piece of coral.
And the Yuuzhan Vong are part of all 19 books, correct? This war is.
Yeah. It's
if the enemy would.
Well, let me put it to you this way: it's not necessarily the central of everything. It's there, but some of these books are going to explore, Jason and Janna. It's going to explore a lot of Jedi lore. There's a lot more to it, but this is an overarching issue with the Yuuzhan Vong. But no, it's not. It's not the central theme for every single book. There's a lot of variety here,
Gotcha.
Which is why I kind of picked to go on this series. It's going to take us 20 years to do it, but we'll be dead before we finish all these books.
Is that the average lifespan? 44 and 52?
Yes, okay. That is our average human lifespan.
Gotcha. Maybe that's why the Yuuzhan Vong are.
I'm just going to strangle you to death. That's what's going to happen. Yeah, I'm
going to force choke you. 10 years later.
I'm going to make a cool all TIE Fighter podcasts. You're like, oh, blah 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 blah, and I'm just going to choke you. That's what's going to happen, and then we'll die.
And then I'm going to be the first Sith to come back as a Force ghost and choke you to death. 10 years later.
Where you the first Sith to come back as the Force ghost?
We'll talk more about that another day.
But yeah, folks, we really appreciate you listening along. Again, if you have any comments about the chapter, any theories about what's going to happen next, anything you just like to talk about, again, make sure you head up Facebook or send us an email at tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. We'll be more than happy to discuss it on the podcast and just get you going. But I enjoy these books. I always have. There's a lot of things to them. They're long. This is 25 chapters. We've been through 5. We've got 20 more chapters of just this particular book, going week by week by week, and there's just so much more to come. There's so much more to come. So I don't know. What else you got to say to all the fine, excellent-looking, handsome people that listen to this podcast?
Why are they all handsome? We don't have any women at all listening.
I believe you can call a woman handsome.
Have you ever?
Maybe. I mean,
How'd that work
maybe in
for
the
you?
1950s, I guess.
How'd that work for you? You called a woman handsome in the 1950s?
Yeah, I'm a vampire. Didn't you know that?
I didn't.
I'm a vampire Jedi. Crossing sci-fi.
Kind of seems like that's a bit counterintuitive to the Jedi belief system.
Well, there's weirder stuff out in the galaxy than that.
I bet there's a
listen,
Sith vampire story out there in
wouldn't
all
surprise me.
of the Star Wars fan theories.
You know, I don't think you always catch it, but I try and interweave a lot of other genres in here. I mean, okay, so let's test your general knowledge. Warp nacelle, where does that come from?
Probably Star Trek.
There you go. Good job. I just try and drop these little things just to confuse people. This isn't a Star Wars podcast. What are you guys talking about Star Trek? I don't know. I mean, I just do.
I'm surprised you haven't tried to make a Star Trek podcast. You probably will next week in the intro.
No, never. What are you talking about? There's no intro to this. It's real stuff. I'm trying to start a TIE Fighter podcast.
Then find go do it with Ridley. She's better with that stuff.
Get out of here, man. I don't know. We'll see. On down the road, we might have just several podcasts. You never know. Just a multi-generational.
If you would just suggest an all Sith podcast, I might jump in.
No.
Exactly.
The Sith do not need their own podcast.
All 2 of us do need our own podcast.
Destroyed.
You haven't yet.
Destroyed.
By the way, after every podcast, we have a duel to the death, and it's always like a Family Guy episode fight where Peter fights the chicken. Everything ends up destroyed, but we're all good.
Yeah, we're all good.
And then we just wander back into the house and do another podcast.
Want to get some food? Yeah, let's go get some food. Cool.
What we eating today? More Arby's?
Oh, goodness.
We tried to do one of our dinner with the patrons last night with Arby's. By the way, we got distracted because there was a big uproar by someone hitting a tree.
Oh, yeah.
All emergency services for David here's town.
Yep.
Just kind of wanted to watch that tree, see if it would fall.
Yeah,
or blow up or whatever.
we were fascinated by this man who hit a tree.
We almost got the food and went back and watched, but we came back with our Arby's
Just
and realized
gawking.
we hadn't set up any of our equipment. It's like, well, cold Arby's with the fans, or
Nope.
just save
Got
it
to
for
be
another
piping
day.
hot. Piping hot just for you.
Exactly.
But seriously, though, we'll definitely be. I mean, we definitely got to do another one of those anyway. So yeah, again, just not to plug it too many times, but Patreon is out there, and we'll be putting up some content here. Well, I mean, we have content, but we'll be putting up some more here pretty soon. Just getting around work schedules and so forth, but I think we'll go ahead and stop yakking here. We get a little I get a lot rambly if you ever.
Robble.
Yeah, exactly. So let's go ahead and just sign it off. We appreciate you guys stopping by. Hope you enjoyed this chapter, and make sure to continue on with us next week as we read further into the New Jedi Order and Vector Prime.
Which might have the best titled chapter in this book, Take Me Far, Far Away. Nothing better for a Star Wars book than that title.
Exactly. So, thank you guys for stopping by.
And as always, may the Force be with you.